The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Faster my good afternoon. Welcome to Mannin Line on Manx Radio. Open line through till 1, so your chance to have your say by calling 66 13 68, text 166 177, email studio@manxradio.com, and remember you can WhatsApp as well on 166 177. So yesterday we were with Deborah Heather from Visit Isle of Man and Sarah Maltby, the political member from Visit Isle of Man. I just wondered whether anything that was said yesterday resonated with you, exactly, something that you'd like to bring up regarding tourism and visiting, anything else, but lots more to talk about as well. So the floor is yours today. And Will's first with us today. Hi, Wilf.
I listened to the Mannin Line yesterday and I thought, will I try and get on? I thought no, because there'll be loads of people trying to get on to ask questions and what have you. But the thing is, this is my opinion, that's all, just my opinion alone. 60-odd years ago, I worked at the park, Moorick Park in Ramsey, and there was visitors everywhere. I was 5 years there as a boatman. Anyway, the day I finished there, I was riding my bike out of the park, and I thought, right, if the steam packet, it just happened to be the year that the cheap holidays started, foreign holidays.
Yeah.
And you get across the channel for 20 quid. And I thought, if the steam packet doesn't lower their prices, right now, tourism is finished in the Isle of Man. And I'm afraid I was right, because the steam packet have never, ever lowered their prices. Now, we own this new boat, and the people paid for it, and we still are paying through the nose to get a... I don't, because I don't go anywhere anyway, but we're still paying, everybody else is paying through the nose to get back and forward on whatever, and that includes visitors. Now, in my opinion, it's the wrong boat. It's not good enough life-saving gear on it to carry enough passengers at the right price. It's just not the right boat for the job. But anyway, that's just my opinion.
But what should we do then? Offer deals, cheap prices? What do you think?
Oh, definitely cheaper prices. Definitely cheaper prices. I mean, an old fellow once told me that he was going way back. We're talking, best part of 100 years now. He said there was a boat used to land at the Queen's Pier in Ramsey, and he said there was another boat started up and came to the Isle of Man, and the steam packet and this boat had to keep lowering prices because they were fighting against each other. And the last thing was, and this is all true, the last thing was the steam packet lowered their prices so low, it was only a few bob, but there was 2 bottles of beer thrown in the deal. And the other fellows, they couldn't handle that, so they had to pack in. But then there's been several since then trying to get in. Jeff Duke and all, he tried it and all, and he had trouble trying to get in. But then that's another story. Anyway, I'm a fan of Charles Gard and what he says. And he says that this one's painting, this one's fiction, etc., etc. But the whole thing is, all these things cost loads of money. And you can't expect the people of the Isle of Man to pay for fixing all these things up. It's the visitors that need to pay. It's the visitors' money. And we can't get the visitors. We've got to make it cheaper to get here. That's all there is to it. The most expensive piece of sea to cross in the world remember, we own the new boat. You can put on the radio all these so-called experts on tourism, etc., etc., but the answer is the cost of getting here. The steam packet is to blame. From the start to the finish, he's to blame.
How's the Murdoch looking these days, anyway?
The Murdoch is fine. The Murdoch is in great shape. The only thing is now is with the Murdoch. Somebody mentioned coaches yesterday.
Yeah.
Now, the coaches have 2 parking places. You might get 3 on, alongside our, stupidly painted toilet coming off the promenade. Now then, as I say, I worked for 5 years in the park, and in them days, the coaches used to go through the park. They actually drove through the park, and they stopped as necessary. There was a car park in the middle. That's still there. But in not my wisdom, but in our wisdom in the steam packet, or their wisdom, they spent a tremendous amount of money on the road going through the park. Why, I don't know. They made a motorway of it. It cost tremendous money. I don't think a coach can get through now.
No, I don't think so. It's a bit narrow for coaches are bigger now, aren't they?
Well, no, it's not. It's not the width of the thing. It's if you're coming through from the promenade end, North Prom end, I don't think you can negotiate the tight bend to get through anyway.
Yeah.
Cars are allowed in, but because they have the children's playground and what have you, and they have the children's for the little tiny ones with babies things in the middle there somewhere. They can get through. They get through the cafe. And that's another thing. I think that's the wrong cafe in there as well. That's cost. What we need in there is a proper cafe that sells proper meals like they used to be.
Not just snacks.
I think that not just snacks and cups of coffee and things. That's only, again, my opinion. But as I say, the coaches used to drive right through there, and we used to patch the road. The workmen there, including the boatmen, used to patch any potholes, and we patched them. Now we spent all this money, and it's not getting used. People are just walking through it. It's as I say, the whole thing from start to finish, down to the steam packet.
Okay, all right.
As simple as that.
All right, good point. Thanks for that. Good to hear from you, Will.
All right.
Take care now. Thanks for that. 14 minutes past 12. So is it, Will's point, get more people here. The tourist economy gets bigger. There's more money in the pot to do the things that we need to do, like paint and repair and put new equipment in and what have you. More people equals more money for tourism. So is that the thing the Chief Minister has been talking about, talking to the steam packet, and he mentioned the word leverage. Of course, the Treasury is the shareholder. And in the Treasury is Dr. Allinson, and his boss in Comyn, of course, is the Chief Minister, himself, former Treasury Minister. So we'll see what happens. And David's on now. Hi, David.
Hi, Randy. I just want to draw to the attention the strange goings-on with the Isle of Man Bank and sending emails out to different organisations that have Isle of Man Bank business and asking for details. And I've seen the email. I'm not an Isle of Man Bank customer before anybody starts, but I think we should get your team to look at this, is to find out what's going on with the Isle of Man Bank and why you can't go down to the Isle of Man Bank. You know, when you used to have a relationship manager, you used to knock on the door or you make an appointment and go in, sort things out. And now, if you ring the number, because I personally did it, actually, and you either get shot to Dublin, which was this morning, or the other day, which was Jersey. And how do they know what's going on in the Isle of Man? They may be the parent companies, because when you look at one of the emails, and I've seen it there, it mentions all the banks in the world, the Royal Bank of Scotland, and I wonder whether they're looking for revenge, because didn't they prosecute them? was an assurance that Coutts Bank actually doesn't exist now on the Isle of Man.
I think it does. I mean, that certainly the big Coutts Bank in Onken is now expensive apartments, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's got a swimming pool in there as well.
Inside as well. I've been there. Yeah.
The other thing too, it mentions Guernsey, it mentions the Royal Bank of Scotland, it mentions all these things. And I do wonder, when you look for these scams, somebody showed me this, and I thought to myself, that's a scam. It's got to be a scam. Because they're asking for all sorts of information. You'd never give anybody. You wouldn't. If you went to the bank, some of the people, these youngsters, would say to you, "Can you give me this, that, and the other?" And he said, "Wait a minute. Why do you need that for? Why do you need to know where I live? Where do you need to know all these other things?" I know it's to do with customers and having know your customer.
Yeah.
But if you're living in the Isle of Man, why can't we go to the Isle of Man Bank?
Have you been to the Isle of Man Bank lately in Athol Street?
It's terrible.
I mean, it's been absolutely hollowed out, but it amazes me. And I don't call me old-fashioned, David. Nobody wears a tie in there. No male member of staff wears a tie. I went in there, I think it was the back end of last week. It must have been dressed down Thursday. They were in grubby polo shirts. I mean, hadn't even been ironed. Do you remember when anybody who worked at a bank used to have to wear a collar and tie?
Yeah, and behind the counter, and there's no real privacy anymore. Now you stand at a plinth, and you talk about the business where everybody else is in a queue listening to what's going on.
Oh, get this, David. I went in, and they now stand in these little islands, and there was a girl there dealing with. I mean, first of all, you go in, they say, "Who are you? What do you do?" Rather than just going to, and then they take your name, and then they say, "We'll call you." And 20 minutes later, you get called. And there was a young lady sitting on a stool by these plinths that are quite high. And I said, "Where's my stool?" "Oh, no, we don't have stools for customers."
No, there's nothing for sitting on. Except in the corner, though, there's like a little waiting room and a little alcove where everybody sits on a chair.
Yeah.
And it's like the doctor's surgery. Next.
Yeah.
And they shout. They actually shout your name out to see who you are. So there's no privacy at all. So they know Mr. X or Mr. Y.
Well, the thing is that you I mean, people could be forgiven for this sort of attitude, as you say, when you get funneled off to Dublin or to Guernsey or to Jersey. You could be forgiven for thinking they don't give a tuppenny toss, that they really just don't care.
Well, I'm sure the one this morning when I was in Dublin there, he was called Sean, that's all I got out of him. He wouldn't give me a second name. I don't think he knew even where the Isle of Man was, because I did say to him, it's to do with an Isle of Man account. Can I please talk to the relationship manager to do with the Isle of Man, or could you get somebody to give me a ring? Oh, we're only here to answer phones. We don't do any of this.
Crikey.
But listen, the other thing is, and a conspiracist really is, why isn't the penny bank moving around anymore?
I got an email. I got a message, actually. I can tell you that. I got a message from Isle, because I bank with Isle of Man Bank, full disclosure. And it's saying, "We're sorry to say that Penny's technical issue is unfortunate. Penny's got a technical issue and she'll be off the road for the rest of the week. We're sorry for the inconvenience. Big help, and we'll give you an update as soon as we know more." So apparently, but we don't know whether it's a broken dipstick or whatever it is, whether the brake cable snapped, but Penny's off the road. For there we are. So there we are. She's not there.
And I'm really worried. What I've done is I've put a message into Treasury to say to the Treasury, because there's an arm of government that overlooks the banking system in the Isle of Man. I don't want to panic anybody, but do they know about it? Do they know what's going on? Can they give people advice? And I just wonder whether is an Isle of Man bank person that will come on the radio sometime and say to why we're doing this.
Well, whenever we get in touch with Isle of Man Bank, of course it's now RBSI, Royal Bank of Scotland International. Their PR company, David, is in Jersey. And whenever you say, "Oh, we're from the Isle of Man," you can hear the sigh at the other end of the phone. All right.
Well, I think a lot of people will be looking for different banks in the future if that sort of customer service doesn't exist on the island anymore.
Okay.
And I'll leave it at that.
Good to hear from you.
Bye.
Thanks for that. Here's a message in just saying, I was hearing yesterday, how about some entertainment for families? How many teenagers want to go on a horse tram or electric tram or walk around the museums? What's the government doing to promote the Isle of Man for families? Families do have teenage children. There used to be entertainment on at the villa during the summer for families. And a message in, a WhatsApp in from 517 said, Andy, you heard that message yesterday where two gentlemen said there's nothing going on the Isle of Man and nobody here. Well, we've just come from Castletown. This was yesterday, says Sam, where there were 3 coaches full of people, the squares full of people enjoying the hospitalities. Billy Harris was playing tennis live on the huge screen yesterday in Castletown. I know Castletown commissioners have come in for a lot of flack about closing off the square. I have 2 young children who've never had a problem parking nearby as well, walking with them. Well done, Castletown commissioners. You should be proud of yourself. And here's one that came in a bit late yesterday. Could you ask Sarah Maltby why they never promote the Isle of Man when national papers are doing features on the best places to visit, best beaches, best seaside resorts, best rambling, best sea sports in the British Isles, not the UK. The Isle of Man is always missing. Also, a friend who lives in Northern Ireland says she's never seen any advertising for the island ever. Mary in Ramsey, P.S. What do they think of Charles Gard's truthful appraisal of the Isle of Man, and what do they plan to do with his points? That was a message in from yesterday. There were many, many people. We didn't get to a lot of the points yesterday purely because of time, but Deborah Heather's going to be back. Seriously, the second half of the year she'll be back on to talk more about that. I don't know about you, but when listening yesterday, you kind of wonder what Visit Isle of Man, what power they have, what leverage they have. Used to be, do you remember the Minister of Fun, David Cretney, MHK, and his chief exec at the time, Terry Toohey. They were a great pair when the tourism department had its own minister. Now, well, obviously, it's in Department for Enterprise. But anyway, we'll see. Juan's on now. Hi, Juan.
How are you, Andy?
Very well, thanks. We couldn't cram you in yesterday.
I know what a busy show, but you know what? There's some really interesting comments come out of that show yesterday, from Nigel and a few others. And tourism there's got to be a passion in tourism. It's not a 9 till 5 job. People who are in tourism have a passion for it, and I think people within the government departments need to have a passion as well, and Isle of Man tourism. But on one point I was going to mention yesterday, the homestay prices is something that's being brought up, and I don't know, maybe the news team can have a look into that. Homestay prices for next year now, with this new company that's involved, are going up to £65 for 1 year, £95 for 2 years, but with an advertising fee of £120. I don't know, I haven't fully checked this out yet, but maybe Head of News might be able to do that. But I'm just wondering, is this going to now deter people from doing homestay because of the actual price? I mean, it used to be, I think it was £25 for the public liability, and people were happy to pay that. But now it starts getting, people are starting to make money out of this, and companies it's been put away from government and now private enterprise. So I'm just wondering if people who maybe have 1 or 2 nights are happy to take a few people in are not going to do this anymore, and it's going to cause a problem next year.
I mean, are many people in it for the long dollars? Or do you think many people do this not as it's a fair? How much can you take now tax free? Is it over 2,500? I think.
I think so, yeah. I think so. But there's obviously the people who just want to, they're happy to put people up for 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights, something like that. But then people are not going to be as willing to do that now. It's only going to be the people that are in the market for maybe a week or 2 weeks. So I don't know whether it's going to affect, people for shorter stays, having this bigger charge on. It's one point. There was a few points there yesterday, but I think people like Nigel covered most of them anyway. And as Will said before, I think everything seems to boil down to the cost. And since Europe and America is now the world's a smaller place, and you can fly to Madeira for something like £30 or £40. So we've got to be cost effective, and we're not. I think what they're doing with the cruise ships is great, and the message that goes back from people that have been here will probably revisit. But again, the first images of the island is again was mentioned just today. That's important. And I had a picture sent to me yesterday off the ferry terminal in Belfast, and it looked quite a mess at the entrance, not very welcoming at all. So we've got this nice big shiny waiting room in Liverpool. But again, it's first images. And
the thing is, Joan, I like our sea terminal. I love the shape of it. It looks like the kind of 1950s Russia, with the and I think we could do more with it. I think the sea terminal itself is fine. It's what you do with it inside, I think.
I totally agree, because you've got, again, the growth of government sprawling out, and it took over the top level, which was a beautiful restaurant at one time with fantastic views. So I totally agree. That whole building could be made into something a little bit more special. Government offices can be put anywhere. They don't need to be in a nice place like that. So I totally agree with that.
Well, I think if you look at what private enterprise has done with the sea terminal, look what Costa Coffee going in and W.H. Smith has done. Absolutely revolutionised it. Do you remember? There used to be, I remember Mr. Creasy, Rob Creasy, had a restaurant in there for a while, did his best. What's it called? The Viking? Something. Anyway,
think so, yeah,
that was there, the longboat or something, and that was great. But have you noticed? I mean, since Costa Coffee, aside of the fact it's £4 for a cup of coffee, but Costa Coffee and W.H. Smith have revitalised the sea terminal.
They have. But if you can imagine where Carlo Bragazzi used to have his restaurant upstairs, if you had that back again, I mean, that would be a fantastic point for.
It's interesting. Have you noticed they haven't taken the wood panelling off the walls as you go? It's the most luxurious staircase to a government department on the Isle of Man, or probably elsewhere. Was it called the Crow's Nest?
Yes, it was. Yes, absolutely. And just on another point, I was listening to the news article this morning with Tim Krukal talking about the new sea terminal at Liverpool, and they quite nicely, both of them, danced around Lewis's question on value for money. There was a little waltz going around that one. No one really wanted to commit to that one, but. I'm picking up on 2 points from two different interviews. There was, is it Brian Thompson from the Steam Packet? The guy from the Steam Packet. Tim Krukal said today about we have got snagging problems, and then yesterday in a comment they were talking about the boats not being on time, and Brian Thompson said there's no water. Well, that's quite a big snagging problem. And I think it was only last week I actually mentioned about silting up and dredging, and within a 10-day period, we've got the man from the Steam Packet saying we've got no water. Okay. So I don't know how that's going to go with snagging, but I hope you've got that suit all pressed for Timble Day, Andy.
I'll be there on Timble Day. Don't worry, it's all there. I got it out of the. We had to let the seams out because apparently I think it shrunk. It's not the alternative, anyway.
I've got to say to the listeners that Andy Wint is the most smartest dressed man on the Timble Fairfield. You will not miss this man.
Jolly good. Thank you, Juan.
Take care, Andy.
Good to hear from you. Mannin Line. It's Wednesday, of course, which means on Wednesday, Monday and Friday, we look in the 60th anniversary archive. On Wednesday, we look into Kelly's Eye. And on last week's episode, we're hearing about that caravan in Onken, the original site for Manx Radio. And today, David Collister, the late David Collister, and Peter Kelly cast their eye on the current location, looking at Broadcasting House itself here on Douglas Head after Mannin Line today.
Dreaming of a family adventure? Loganair has you covered with our Kids Fly fare-free offer. Start planning today. Limited time offer booked by 9th July. T's and C's apply. Children aged 11 and under eligible and must fly with full fare-paying accompanying adults. Book today at loganair.co.uk. Loganair, your journey, our joy.
Above deck or below, Harbour Marine Services has all your boating needs in one place. From engine sales and servicing to charts, books, dinghies and trailers, electronics, navigation, ropes, rigging and safety. Over 2,000 square feet of stock to help you stay safe on the water. Call 822 995 or find us on Facebook. For all your chandlery supplies, set your course to Harbour Marine Services, next to Castle Down Harbour.
Calling all employers. Are you searching for talent to join your team? Look no further than justthejob.im, the best jobs website for young people on the Isle of Man. Whether you're offering summer jobs, part-time posts, full-time roles, or exciting internships, Just the Job has you covered. And here's the best part. It's absolutely free to use. Justthejob.im. Start posting your vacancies today. Powered by Junior Achievement Together with the Z Zurich Foundation.
It's time to start enjoying the garden. And from barbecues to garden furniture and machinery, tools and plants, Riley's Garden Centre has everything you need. Call Road Braddon and rileys.co.im or follow them on Facebook or Instagram.
Until the 14th of July, you have the chance to win an LG 65-inch TV, courtesy of Waltons. Each week on the Manx Radio Facebook page will be a scrambled footballer's name. All you have to do is identify the person. To enter, tune in each weekday evening to Greatest Hits or Saturday Live, where we will announce a window of opportunity and you will have 5 minutes to text your answer and your full name to 166 177. The winner will be announced on Monday the 15th of July, so keep listening for your chance to win with Waltons and your nation station, Manx Radio.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
I got a note in from a resident of St John's who said, my postal vote, this is for the UK general election, my postal vote for Dudley Metropolitan Borough, that's in the Black Country in the Midlands in England, was posted on the 19th of June, arrived here at my home in St John's 12 days later on Monday the 1st of July. It apparently went via Heathrow. I've returned my ballot paper the same day by guaranteed next day delivery, an extra expense on top of what was supposed to be free first class delivery. It should therefore hopefully arrive in Dudley before 10 p.m, the deadline for the general election in the UK tomorrow. Now, says this resident of St John's, leaving aside any mistreatment of a postal vote envelope, the simple fact is that it took 12 days for an official letter to travel to the Isle of Man. I think this is a disgrace, a third world standard of service. 12 days. Now, bearing in mind, obviously the UK general election is not directly involved in us, lots of people on the Isle of Man use the postal vote or a proxy vote. And I just wonder whether this affected you as well. 12 days, a postal vote from Dudley Metropolitan Borough on the 19th of June arrived in St John's 12 days later on Monday the 1st of July. I wonder where it went via. Julian's with us now. Hi, Julian.
Hi, Andy. How you doing?
Very well, thanks.
Good. I've been mulling over the figures from Erie Stain. There's a page on the UK government legislation website, and it's titled Meaning of Declared Net Capacity. This page was last updated in April of 2023, so it's recent. This particular regulation states that any net capacity factors quoted from a wind generator has to be derated for intermittency compared to a fossil fuel generator. And you do that by multiplying the net capacity by 0.43. And this is on the latest legislation UK website. If you apply that to the Isle of Man government figures for Erie Stain, it normalises the figures to approximately what has been published by the UK government and the UK Wind Consortium in terms of their load factors. And if you take the range of the figures in the MUA's document that convinced the Treasury and the MUA board, which named it as 60 to 74%, which I thought was absolutely outrageous. If you multiply 60 to 74% by 0.43, as the UK government says that you should do, you get a predicted range of between 26 and 31%, which is exactly what I've been saying the whole time. This approximately tallies with what every other UK jurisdiction has found in practice, measuring the turbines over 6 years. So it seems to me that the last step in the process of working out what they'll produce has been missed.
So where do you think this disconnect comes from? I mean, who isn't? I mean, these are, this is the conclusion you've come to. They've come to a different conclusion. And my point, as always, is we, the paying customers, are in the middle here. And at the moment, 29p per kilowatt hour is what we're paying. And if the sums are done wrong, then there's only one person who's going to be paying more for their electricity, surely.
Well, yeah, but if I'm trying to sell you something that makes electricity and it turns out that I've missed a step and I'm actually, when I sell it to you, you're going to get 1/3 of what I'm telling you, you're not going to be too happy, are you?
Well, that's understating it, to be quite honest.
Yeah, so it's called Meaning of Declared Net Capacity. Look for the UK the legislation.gov.uk webpage, and it is saying for wind you must multiply that capacity factor by 0.43, and that takes into account all the intermittency, the losses, the having to rebalance everything because of course the wind's going up and down all the time. If you apply 0.43, multiply that by the figures that they're giving, 60 to, you can even apply it to the 130, whatever gigawatt hours. It brings it back to the normality. It seems to me it's a very simple possible mistake that they haven't applied the final step as recommended by the UK government.
And what conclusion would you draw from that?
I think they need to go back and have a look at this. Go and have a look at the UK legislation, meaning of declared net capacity, because they may be not following exactly what it should be. And that is 0.43 multiplying is dropping it by 43%. I mean, if you went in the shops and you ended up with 43% less shopping than you thought you were going to come out with, you'd be annoyed, wouldn't you? And you'd go back for a refund.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks, Julian. Good to hear from you.
Thanks, Andy. Cheers.
All
Bye.
right. Here's a note in that just says, Will's right about steam packet pricing. I came back from Belfast on Mannin yesterday and the boat was 2/3 empty. Obviously, two-way traffic to Belfast and Ireland in general would increase dramatically if prices were much reduced. People simply can't afford to visit the Isle of Man when it's so expensive. Governments globally are trying to do away with cash, says Big John. Angry Big John. It's another control measure to put further financial restrictions on people, i.e. no cash jobs, no tips. This will affect mainly working class people. Is that, do you reckon that? Is that the rich getting richer and everything? So no cash. Well, remember Beastie's fervent advice when you go into the banks on the Isle of Man, ask for Manx pound notes. In fact, ask for lots of them. Isle of Man Bank, this is Lynn's note on 041. My hubby was in Athol Street branch this morning. I was there a couple of weeks ago. We were both dealt with quickly and efficiently, and the staff were very helpful. Maybe I caught them on an off day. Thank you, Lynn. The postal vote sent to me from Liverpool on the 24th of June has just arrived on the Isle. 24th of June from Liverpool. It's the 3rd of July. It's going to cost me £10.56 to send it back, guaranteed next day delivery to be in Liverpool on time. This is weird, isn't it? The fact that that stuff is taking so long to get to the Isle of Man. Well, normally, of course, if it's just a bill, it's okay that's late. But these are votes, aren't they? Eddie on now. Hi, Eddie.
Hi, Andy. Hi, mate.
Yeah, good, thanks.
Good. A few good names you mentioned there. In the old days, we seemed to employ people who knew what they were doing. You mentioned one named Terry Toohey. That guy must have brought millions and millions introducing all the cruise ships to the island.
And you're right as well. Terry was the one. He was a cruise ship enthusiast, and he knew that. And I remember him saying in that distinctive accent, South African accent, that you get people here, they come ashore, they drop their money, and then they go back. So you get tourists, and you don't have to worry about beds for them. And Terry, in his own very understated way, was such a good servant to the Department for Tourism.
A marvellous man, I agree with you. Yep. Just to follow on from yesterday, before I get to my real subject, I came on yesterday to mention fares about the Isle of Man steam packet. One thing I didn't mention, I meant to mention it. I'll ask you, would you say the foot passenger fare was about fair?
How much is it now?
I think it's £59.90.
£59.90 each way?
I'm not too sure, but even if it's return, what I wanted to point out was, while I was away, I did tell you I was away in Cumbria and Scotland for 2 weeks. The foot passenger fare, let's refer to pensioners, right? Just to really emphasise this, I don't think the steam packet give any concessions to pensioners, but the Scottish Government do. And the fare from Turbot to Port Ellen in Islay, how much would you sort of have a guess at?
Foot passenger?
Yeah.
What, £20?
£2.50.
I mean, it has to be said that Caledonia McBrain is basically propped up by the Scottish Government, isn't it? It's run by the taxpayer, and
it's helped, yeah.
And no government wants to kind of legislate against people's, because there's more votes in cheap transport, and that's public transport. Of course, for the Western Isles, it's very important.
It's done all over the Hebridean Islands for that reason. But the government, those boats are full all the time. I mean, while I was there, I stayed at North Shore, which is right next to the harbour. The boat was coming in packed 4 times a day, packed. Right, it's just one of those things. But my main point I wanted to come on, Andy, is not just the silliness of the fares. I did tell you yesterday, 611 quid in comparison to 110. But the whole, everybody knows this, but the government doesn't listen. They keep saying they're listening, but they don't. Whilst I was away, one of my main things was to enjoy myself, of course, but I observed the wind farms. And the capital of Britain is Scotland as regards wind farms, isn't it? From Muncaster Castle going north, there was a massive big wind farm there, and there's some sort of controversy over it, not one of them working. My wife went for a swim in the sea at St. Bees. We looked across at the wind farm that we can see, not a single one working a week yesterday. Not a single one. There's over 100 there. Also, whilst I was everywhere else in Scotland, they were intermittent, and I would say as much as 40% of wind turbines were not going. Another one is, while I was on Islay, I asked about wind farms with them. Well, they've got one. It's been up for 4.5 years. It's been broken down 3 times already, and the people are all in the same frame of mind. By the time it's come to the end of its life, it won't have even made any money for them.
So there's just one turbine there?
One turbine. But everybody is of the same frame of mind. It is an absolute waste of time. It was a trial, but they all seem to think, no, we don't want it. We all know now, we've just had an absolute, probably the most qualified person in Britain to come and lecture us over here and give us some advice. And while I was away, I believe he was even banned from giving a lecture in school. Is that right?
I don't know. Didn't hear anything about that.
Well, that's what I've been told. And also, our government is really, really interested in his views. One person from our government went to his meeting that he had, I believe. That's disgusting, honestly. I actually think, like everybody else thinks, there's something going on which is very, very suspicious. Nobody can find a good reason. I've spent 2 years having a look at this. Now I'm retired. I've got the time. I can do. Julian looks at all the figures. He's pointed out something today. I've heard nothing but spiel from the government and the MUA. There isn't a single iota of anything that's been told of them two, which tells me that they're telling the truth.
Okay,
it's
all right.
A pack of lies.
All right, Eddie, appreciate that. You're not wild sea swimming today, are you?
Well, it's not me that does it. It's my wife.
Oh, I thought you'd be diving in after her.
I think it'd give me a heart attack if I jumped in the water.
Thanks for calling.
Okay.
No. Texter 212, I'm a registered overseas voter for the UK. I'm also registered for a postal vote. I'm still waiting for my postal vote to arrive, as is my wife. We're being denied the right to vote. I don't think you're going to get it in time, Scott. Thanks for that note. It's a sad news. Did you hear about Thrive Farms? The owners of the farm in Ramsey have decided to close the shop. Thrive Farms says a challenging growing season's left them significantly behind schedule for their produce, which means it's unsustainable to continue running the physical store with associated overheads. But there are plans at developing a stronger plan for the future of Thrive Farms. So we wish them well. And did you hear there are non-exec directors for the steam packet, former MHK and the ex-head of marketing for a UK supermarket chain are set to be appointed as non-execs for the steam packet company. Bill Shimmins served as an MHK for Middle between 2016 and 2021. I think also previously wasn't he head of the Isle of Man for Royal Bank of Scotland International, and was a political member for Treasury as well when it purchased the ferry operator. Amanda Bindon is currently the chair of Laxey Glen Mills, previously had senior marketing roles with Waitrose and Pizza Hut UK. Their appointments are expected to be subject to approval at this month's sitting of Tynwald. There are two non-execs then, Bill Shimmins, former MHK, and Amanda Bindon.
Oh, Chester, it was so easy selling all those old valuables all in one go with Vintage Cash Cow. Join over 500,000 people turning watches, jewellery, cameras, gold, silver and much more into cash. Send your items to Vintage Cash Cow, fully insured with free postage. Accept the offer and enjoy the money. Or we'll return your items for free. We can go on holiday now, Chester. Visit vintagecashcow.co.uk.
New builds, renovations, home improvements, commercial and civil engineering projects. Come to the local, long-established building company you can trust. Darrell Blake Construction. Well respected, with over 20 years' experience. Darrell Blake Construction can handle any project, from planning to completion, with a professional yet approachable way of working. For your free estimate, call 435 409 or visit on Facebook to view a wide range of work. Darrell Blake Construction. Committed to quality.
Greetings, Manx Radio listeners. Adam Partridge here, TV auctioneer from BBC Flogget. I'm going to be visiting the island with my team of valuers for a week from Saturday the 6th of July. We're offering free valuations on all areas of antiques and fine art, including paintings, jewellery, silver, watches, coins, medals, ceramics and more. Come and meet us at the Comis Hotel on Monday the 8th of July from 2 till 7 p.m, or get in touch for a free home visit. Don't miss out, because by Friday the 14th of July we'll be gone. For more information, visit adampartridge.co.uk.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a passenger announcement. From Saturday, the Carnaby Street time train will be departing from 8 a.m. for a 2-hour journey to the 1960s with the Isle of Man Railways, with hits, memories and great prizes. Carnaby Street at the new time of 8 a.m.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Simon Richardson from Manx Radio News has been getting to the bottom of this thing with Isle of Man Bank, which says it's taking action to review the language and tone of its communications with customers during the collection of updated due diligence and tax data. Now, this follows concerns. We've had them on Mannin Line, and you've heard we've had lots of emails in from customers as well, long-standing customers, over what's been described as unacceptably aggressive tones in emails, letters and texts. Here's Simon.
The customer of one small business on the island told Manx Radio he'd suffered sleepless nights and anxiety after a threat from the bank to close his business account unless specific information relating to ID and proof of address was provided. He claims the information had been sent as requested, which had initially been rejected. My colleague Dave Moore has voiced some of his comments to us.
Every time I sent the information that was requested, it was rejected. I had numerous emails, letters and texts asking for info. I understand they have to update their records, but as a loyal customer of the bank for over 12 years, I was shocked by the aggressive tone they adopted. I have a number of employees, and I genuinely feared that if my account was closed, I wouldn't be able to pay them.
Isle of Man Bank's parent company, Royal Bank of Scotland International, was fined over £1 million by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority in February this year, after an inspection by the FSA carried out in 2021 found the bank had contravened paragraph 7 of the Anti-Money Laundering and Countering the Financing of Terrorism Code 2015. RBSI was, according to the FSA, unable to demonstrate that its up-to-date customer risk assessment process was brought into use in a timely manner following the introduction of the code. The FSA found that customers were still subjected to a risk rating to a pre-2015 standard during the period. A mitigating factor in deciding the penalty was that RBSI had engaged promptly and positively with the FSA throughout the matter in a timely and constructive manner. Responding to Manx Radio over concerns raised by customers, an Isle of Man Bank spokesperson issued the following statement, read now by Tessa Hawley.
As a regulated financial institution, we have an obligation to maintain complete, accurate and up-to-date customer records. We are requesting updated customer due diligence and tax data from some of our customers so we can improve our customer experience and better manage our customer data. We are here to support our customers and would encourage them to get in touch with us using the details provided in our communications if they have any questions or concerns. Ensuring that we have the most up-to-date account information for our customers will allow us to continue fulfilling a priority of protecting our customers' accounts from financial crime and continue to meet regulatory obligations. We understand that providing the requested data may cause some inconvenience, but we appreciate our customers' cooperation and can provide support where needed. However, we're also taking action to review the language and tone of these communications to ensure they're as appropriate and customer-focused as possible. Our customer communications include contact details if customers have any questions or concerns.
And if you have any concerns, you can call the bank on 632 417 between 9am and 5pm, Monday to Friday.
632 417. So what's this? Has Isle of Man Bank taken the hump? A message in from Wendy who said, I remember when people at Royal Bank of Scotland International used to wear uniform with the tartan ties and everything. Oh, long gone are those days. Nick's with us now. Hi, Nick.
Oh, hi, Andy. Just ringing to say that my voting slip from the UK has turned up today, which means I'm going to have to pay a fortune to get it delivered in time for the vote to be counted tomorrow.
Is there a postmark on it?
No, there isn't. It's one of these prepaid things. What strikes me is that there's a big scandal here because very, very many people have not got the postal votes in time, or as one other caller said, they'd have to pay a lot to get the thing in. It strikes me that the delays that have been caused are likely to affect those people who are outside of the UK at the moment and who wish to register a protest vote against the UK government and against the prospective government and would be denied the opportunity. Now, I just wonder if there's a conspiracy theory here which someone might like to expand on. Well, it's very strange that all these votes have been turning up late.
It will be interesting. And I think, what's an election expert called? Oh, a psophologist, I think they're called. They'll know all about that.
Yes,
so are you going to pay £10 to get your vote in?
I'm going to. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Appreciate it. Thanks for calling, Nick.
You're welcome. Bye.
6 minutes before 1 on Manx Radio. Is there a reciprocal agreement, says this WhatsApper, is there a reciprocal agreement with the UK for Isle of Man residents voting in Isle of Man elections? Well, it wouldn't be theirs, would it? It will be ours. And I don't think there is. Is there? How does that work? Scott says, if the horse trams aren't reinstated before the next election, none of the sitting MHK should be re-elected. We need to tell them this and follow through and get them out if they can't get the horse trams done. It was interesting yesterday, wasn't it? Deborah Heather of Visit Isle of Man was, I would say, unequivocal in her response that the horse trams are a good idea when you're talking about cruise liners. And she was also unequivocal that cruise liners are very good business for the Isle of Man. Terry says, will the Manxman be able to dock in the new dock in the winter when the Manannans completed her summer schedule? Oh, dear me. Back tomorrow with a pre-Timwell Day open line thanks to Chris Quirk on the phones today.
WINT 60
60 years serving you as the nation's station. This is Manx Radio.
Kelly's Eye, brought to you by Ellis Brown Architects.
Do you know we're 900 programmes on today?
Well, it's incredible to think, I was only 41 when we started.
Now you're 78.
No, 18 years of Kelly's Eye is quite something.
It is, isn't it? Yes, well, it's a good place to do this programme today. The sun's shining, we're on Douglas Head.
And on such a day, it's so peaceful, and yet ironically, with such peace, there was a time in history when things weren't so peaceful, and the building we're looking at is in fact what is now Manx Radio. It's a building that's changed. It's a building that appeared during times of hostility because Douglas Head, this area, was requisitioned. 1941 saw the establishment of HMS Valkyrie. The Douglas Head Hotel was taken over. There were 6 Nissen huts built around here on concrete pads, all of which have gone now. And then this building was put up, and it was a school for radar. In fact, it was the only radar school in the whole of the British forces anywhere. It was a flat roof building at the time. It had 18 classrooms in it. So a lot of the walls, I think, were fairly structural in between. And it served its purpose, and then at the end, I think it was the 30th of December 1946, everything stood down, and that was it, finished, and they took down all the radar equipment that was here, and it got shipped away to HMS Collingwood. But can you remember what happened after that to this building?
Well, I think it was taken over by T.H. Colburn, but I'm not certain.
You're right. You tend to forget these things. These red Morris vans with blue and a yellow circle on, and T.H. Colburn through it. Murphy dealer used to make their way up here because whilst he had the shop in Victoria Street, he needed a large workshop, and this was ideal. And so it's, in fact, had this radio link from the start.
Right.
It was built for radar, then used as radio and admittedly television repairs. Then, of course, Manx Radio moved out of their premises on Loch Promenade, which is rather tiny, and then had the whole of this building to occupy over a period of time. You tend to associate Manx Radio now with Douglas Head, and it's in a prominent position. I just hope the day doesn't come when some developer says, I'll buy it and build another skyscraper or whatever, because apart from spoiling the headland, it would mean you'll be back in a caravan up at Bellacurry.
Many of the most iconic buildings around the island have been designed by Ellis Brown Architects. Keep up with Ellis Brown today on Facebook or via ellisbrown.in.